So the Bunnahabhain 12 gets a lot of praise among whisky geeks. In fact, it was the only heavily sherried whisky nominated for the online Scotch Whisky Awards. So does that mean that this is the best value for money sherried whisky you can buy? Well, I'm Phil, and I'm going to fill you in about the Bunnahabhain 12. So this is from the Bunnahabhain distillery, and just so you know, it's not pronounced Bunnahabhain, and it's not Bunnahabhain. So there's some really interesting things about this whiskey, and the first is it's from the Isle of Islay. Now, when you're thinking of Islay, you're thinking of smoky whiskey, you're thinking of peated whiskey, you know, Lafroig and Ardbeg and Lagavulin, but not this one. This one is known as the gentle Islay whiskey. This is an unpeated, non-smoky Islay whiskey, which is pretty interesting. It's not probably super unusual for a Scotch whiskey overall, but for whiskies from the Isle of Islay, it is a little bit more unusual. So apparently there's still some peat in this whiskey. There's between 0.5 ppm and 2 ppm. For context, Lafroig is about 40 ppm, so you're probably not going to notice that smoke. So a little bit of background about the Bunnahabhain. It was founded in 1881, which if you've watched my History of Scotch video, you'll know that's just before one of the big whiskey booms. And it's had a few owners in its time. It's currently owned by Distill Group, and that company recently bought the Burns Stewart's Distillers, which own some pretty good malts in my view. They own Bunnahabhain, they own Deanston, and they also own Tobermory, which, if you know them, they have the Tobermory, and they also have their peated malt, the Lacheg. So it was a pretty good buy, really. Those are three pretty good distilleries. So also for me personally, I've got some pretty special memories of this bottle. It's the whiskey that I had when I was watching the Northern Lights in Iceland. That was pretty amazing. Let's jump into the stats. So the stats of this whiskey are pretty good. It's bottled at 46.3%. I kind of like that it's going a little bit over 46. That's quite good. It's unchill filtered and it's natural colour. So let's talk about the cask and age. Now, often when people are talking about sherried Scotch in conversation, this is the one that often comes up. Not only is it aged in ex-sherry casks though, it's also aged in ex-bourbon casks, and I don't know what the proportion is or the recipe is, but I assume it's aged in those ex-sherry casks for a decent amount of time because a lot of those sort of typical ex-sherry flavours come out of it in this whiskey. And also as well, it's a 12-year-old and it's got the age statement, so that gets the bonus point. And it's also all on the label. Everything's on the label, natural colour, unchill filtered, great. I don't know if I should have a second bonus point when everything's on the bottle, which is quite good. Often, sometimes it's only on the box, so, but I like that. Good on you, Bunnahabhain. So now let's talk about the bottle design. So I really like this bottle design. It stands out compared to a lot of my other whiskies on the shelf. I think they definitely improved it since the old bottle design. I like little subtle adjustments. My one thing about it is that I'm not a huge fan, and this is probably more controversial opinion. I think I prefer clear glasses to dark glasses just because I can see how far I've drunk through the whiskey, where it's a little bit harder with this. That's just a personal thing. Some people really like the dark green glass, and it is cool and it is different, so yeah. So overall, I'm going to give this bottle design a B+. Now before I get into my tasting notes, this video is sponsored by the like button. It's not actually sponsored by the like button, but yeah, give it a like. It helps these videos get out, reach more people, and helps me make more videos. Fantastic. So the nose. What I love about the Bunnahabhain is it kind of has these sort of three categories going for it all at the same time. And the first is kind of those ex-bourbon notes, the vanilla, the coconut, those sort of oaky notes. And then kind of probably the most pronounced flavors, which are the ex-sherry notes. Those are the raisins, the prunes, the dates, and some of those sort of jammy notes as well. And then there's this nice kind of salty coastal kind of note as well in the background. Now the palate. It's rich, it's oily, it's full-bodied, and definitely you're getting the same sort of vanilla notes coming through. I guess sort of the oaky vanilla is more like an ice cream because of the creaminess to it. rather than just like a vanilla bean. Dried fruits coming through again. You sort of got this sort of sour jam kind of dried fruit coming through at the same time as kind of a sweet jam at the same time. It's like this nice sweet and sour thing. And then also as well, you got this nice coastal, salty kind of sort of background as well, which is, yeah, it's nice. Now I'm just going to try again to try and see if I can pull out that smoke that apparently in it. And some people can apparently get smoke on this. So I'm just going to try that again. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think there's definitely an element of kind of notes you get when you normally taste a smoky whiskey, and that's probably more that coastal sea salt stuff you normally get from Islay or other island whiskies like Talisker. But the actual smokiness part is just so small, and I think part of it's probably because I've had so many smoky whiskies, it's almost becoming hard for me to detect. It's a little bit like, you know, my wife doesn't drink coffee, and if we kind of order, let's say I order a mocha from a cafe, if she drinks it, she's only going to taste the coffee because she doesn't drink coffee. And if I taste it, because I mainly drink coffee, I'm only going to taste the chocolate because I drink coffee all the time and I won't really drink hot chocolate. And I think that's kind of probably what's going on because I drink a lot of smoky whiskey. I just can't really see the smoke in it. Do you taste smoke in this if you have this? I'm not sure. Now the finish. It's really nice. Vanilla coming through again, almost like a ginger tea kind of note. It's nice, it's about a medium finish. Right, so now onto my final thoughts. And first of all, with the value. Now, I think this is pretty good value, especially if you're a whiskey geek. It's unchill filter, natural colour, it's got an age statement, and it tastes really great, and it won't break the bank. You know, compared to some other sherried whiskies like the Macallan 12, which is a lot more expensive than this. And I'd probably prefer this, to be honest. Prices have gone up in recent times, but I still think it's at a good enough price that it's definitely worth a buy if you're a whiskey geek. So now onto availability. So I've never not been able to buy a bottle, especially living here in New Zealand where, you know, we're on the other side of the planet, and anytime I've wanted a bottle, I've been able to get one and get it ordered and get it delivered pretty much straight away. So I've never had a problem with that. Let me know if you've had a problem with finding this whiskey where you are, but this is a great one normally for availability. And now onto reachability. This is a really good reachable whiskey. I'm always reaching for this, especially when I want a good sherried scotch, you know, not just a tame sherried scotch, and not a super expensive, overpriced sherried scotch, a good sherried scotch. And I'm always reaching for this. It's a great whiskey, and when it runs out, I'm probably gonna buy another bottle and then keep reaching for that one too. So scores well on that. So who is this whiskey for? Well, if you're the sort of person who watches whiskey videos on YouTube, I think this whiskey's for you. It's an absolute benchmark of 12-year-old Scotch, and also as well, if you know a little bit about Islay whiskey like Lafroig and Lagavulin, this whiskey's quite good because it's a contrast to that. It's a little bit different. It makes a good talking point if you're drinking it with mates who also like whiskey. So what are my final thoughts for this whiskey? Well, there's a good reason I keep rebuying this whiskey. There's a good reason it was nominated for the online Scotch Whisky Awards for the best entry-level kind of distillery release whiskey. And that's because it's just a great whiskey. It tastes great, it's good value. Now, there was an older bottling that I used to own in the old design, and I think from memory I preferred the taste of that whiskey, but you know, it's hard to know from memory. But overall, the difference between that bottling and this one is so subtle that I still highly recommend this one, and I still really enjoy this one. In fact, some people prefer this bottling over the older bottling, so yeah, it's great. So I'm going to give this whiskey a 90 out of 100. Fantastic score, fantastic whiskey. Now I'm really keen to hear what you guys think about this whiskey. Leave a comment down below if you've tried the 12-year-old or if you've tried other bottles from Bunnahabhain. I'm keen to hear what you think. Leave a comment, and also as well, if you liked the video, if you want to see more videos like this, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell. But also as well, thanks heaps to my patrons who keep my videos coming out. Appreciate you guys again. Don't know what I'd do without you. But above all, make sure you share your whiskey and enjoy. Beauty.